Riding your brand new e-mountain bike is one of the best feelings ever. But if you're a beginner, there's definitely a lot to learn along the way and a few mistakes you can definitely make. Here's a few of the classics. Now, a big mistake I see a lot of riders making is riding the trail sat down in their saddle no matter what the terrain. Now, there isn't a problem being sat in the saddle when it comes to technical off-road climbing where you can go in and out the saddle to match the terrain that you're climbing. Also, there's no problem if you're climbing up a smooth fire road or a smooth trail, a cross-country kind of trail where you don't need to let that bike move around. However, the problem arises when you come to tackling technical terrain, such as things like these routes. If you're sat down on things like this, your body weight isn't going to be in the right place, your suspension isn't going to work as effectively, and you're not going to be able to move around on the bike like you would if you were out of the saddle, putting that weight in the right places. So it's really important to get out of the saddle when it comes to riding technical terrain. So you're cruising down the trail and you hear a nasty noise coming from your bike. So you and your whole riding crew stop in the middle of the track to try and do the diagnosis. Next thing you know, Ronnie Racer is absolutely flying down the trails and piles into the whole lot of you. Not a good look. So if you do need to stop on the trail, be it to fix your bike, take a selfie, have a bite to eat, whatever the reason, just make sure you're well off the trail. Get you, your bike and your riding buddies off of there because you don't know who is going to come down that trail fast. Could be a local mountain biker, it could be a motocross bike coming down at speed. Get off there and stay safe. Another beginner mistake I see a lot out and about on the trails is cruising down the trail, either sat down or stood up with one pedal high and one pedal low. It feels really comfortable, but it's super dangerous, and here's why. Now, there's a couple of reasons why riding with your cranks in this position is pretty dangerous. One is that it's going to cause your weight to be to one side of the bike. Number two is that if you're riding technical terrain, your pedal and your crank is dying out to hit a rock, a root, a compression, a jump face. Anything that is likely to grab that pedal definitely will. So you need to get those cranks nice and level when it comes to riding technical terrain. That way you can have nice balance and you're going to give your cranks the most ground clearance. Most modern e-mountain bikes come with a dropper seat post, and they are amazing pieces of kit, so make sure you use it when you're out on your trail ride. The idea of the dropper seat post is that you can raise it and drop it with the push of a lever to tackle a variety of terrain. So when it comes to using that dropper seat post, you need to get it slammed for tackling technical terrain, jumping, trials. Basically, with that seat nice and low, it's going to allow you to move around all over the bike, particularly over the rear of the bike without fear of getting tangled in the seat. And you're not going to have the seat pecking away at your behind every time you tackle something a little bit tasty. When you get to the bottom of the trail or on a smooth trail, get it up nice and high. That way you're going to be in a nice, efficient riding position. There is one thing you can also use a slam saddle for, is when it comes to technical climbs. If the grip isn't there, you can slam it and actually sit down and use the motor's power to power you up the hill. Your center of gravity is going to be really nice and low, and you're going to have a lot of weight on that back wheel. So try that on a technical climb if you get stuck. Changing gear on your e-mountain bike is a definite skill to master. It's quite common to get a gear crunch, particularly under load when it comes to tackling hills. The thing you need to learn is to select the right gear before you get to that hill, not trying to change it under load, because that's when you'll get that horrible crunching noise. Here's how to change without it. Now, the most important thing about gear selection in climbing hills is preempting what gear you're going to need to get up that climb successfully. However, if you do need to shift whilst you're under load from that motor, the best way to do it is to ease off the cranks. Just ease off the power. You still need to rotate the cranks, but just back off that little bit. Keep it rotating, select the gear and kind of feel that chain go up on the cassette. You can also listen to it moving up. You just don't want to apply a big harsh power through that crank because you're going to get a crunch. You could risk snapping your chain or possibly damaging your cassette. The idea is to keep it nice and smooth, and that way it's going to be super silent. Now, if you're in the wrong gear, it's quite likely that you're going to be in the wrong cadence range too, meaning that the motor isn't going to give you as much assist as it would do if you're in the correct cadence range. To get the best out of your e-bike's motor, you definitely need to be in the correct gear. Now, in the correct gear, you're going to be hitting that sweet spot in the cadence, and this is going to vary from brand to brand, but you will notice when you are in that sweet spot of the motor, your motor is really pushing you along and powering you along down the trail. If you're on the wrong gear at the start of a trail, it's going to make you off to a really slow start. So selecting that right gear at the start of the trail is key to getting the maximum flow down it. But if you do find yourself in the wrong gear, I've got a nice little hack for you, which is involving the walk mode button. So you need just to get off your bike, pull the front brake on, just do a little endo, push the walk button and select the right gear ready to drop into the start of the trail. That way you'll be ready to go and off to a flying start. As great as your e-mountain bike is at climbing, you sometimes come across those climbs that you cannot conquer and you have to get off and push your e-bike. And this is where you need to use your walk button. If you're not using your walk button, you're definitely missing out and making a big mistake. The idea of using walk mode is to assist you up those climbs that you simply cannot ride up. It's going to take the weight of the bike, meaning you're not left on that hill struggling to push that heavy e-bike. I also find with walk mode, it's good to engage a slightly higher gear or a harder gear. That way you're going to get more assist from that walk mode to power you to the top of the hill. So there we are, a few basic beginner mistakes. I really hope these tips help you out on your first few rides on your e-mountain bike. But if you're a more experienced rider, get involved in the comments down below and give some tips away that you first learnt when you started riding. Love to hear those. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe to us here on EMBN and give us a find and a follow on social media. Cheers for watching.